John Barilaro is the Nationals leader and Deputy Premier in New South Wales, and he joins us now from lockdown, like the rest of the state right now. John, nice to see you. So I know you're not going to preempt anything premiers are about to announce. We know that we're heading towards the end of the month, and the expectation of when we hit 6 million jabs was the beginning of the path out, a slow path out, a trickling path out. Now that we've hit that 6 million, how wide is that path out in the next couple of weeks?
Well, good evening, Paul. And look, we made a commitment at 6 million jabs that we would reward the community in a way for helping us get those vaccination rates up. That will go to crisis committee tomorrow. I'm happy to say that. There are a few options on the table. We'll give that consideration. That'll be determined by, of course, the health experts, Dr. Kerry Chan and her team. It'll be looked at even by police. It'll be looked at by the chief psychiatrist, because some of it will be about wellbeing, and then the crisis committee with the elected officials will make the final decision about what September looks like, give some idea what schooling will look like, and even touch on October and November as we get closer to 70 and 80% of vaccination.
Yeah, because the truth is that, yes, 6 million jabs, awesome, amazing, phenomenal job to be able to be done. I've talked about the issues in New Zealand, but it's 59% have currently had their first dose, which means obviously it's a few weeks before 59% get double dosed, and then obviously to even get to 70%, well, still a little further to go. So New South Wales is not 2 days away from 70%. So I think people also need to temper a little bit of the expectations that 6 million is, as I've talked about, the notches on the handbrake rather than everything being let go, that New South Wales is on its way to 70, but it's currently only at 59%. So is there any modelling or understanding about how long roughly it would take for New South Wales to hit the 70% mark at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. On our forecasts and on our original forecast, we were talking about that we should hit 70% by the end of October, and by the middle of November, the 80%. But the reality is we might be ahead of it. We're seeing vaccination rates accelerate. People are taking up AstraZeneca. It looks like that whole brand debate that we got so caught up in, the demonisation of AstraZeneca, a vaccine that is on par with any other vaccine that was demonised for so long. Now there is an appetite for it because of the risk that's in front of everybody. And I think we'll actually get there in the October, early November period, the 70 and the 80 mark. And I expect that to be freedom for most of us, especially at 80%. But at 70%, we'll actually do a lot more. And that's what's exciting about it. It's in line with the Doherty report. And I'm glad that the Doherty Institute put out some information overnight to clarify that it's not about 20 or 30 cases, that even with 700 or 800 cases that we've got today, and you can get 70% vaccination, you will minimise hospitalisation and those that end up in ICU. And Paul, I've got to say it, I've got to be uncomfortable with the conversation. Deaths will continue. No different to the 200,000 cases of flu that we get every year and the 600 to 800 deaths we get every year. And it's an uncomfortable conversation, and someone that have lost an uncle and aunt in Italy to COVID. I know how hard it's for the family. I don't wish it on anybody, but the reality is it's living with COVID.
Now, also, I crunched some numbers, and I've shown them a couple of times tonight, which was about the hospitalisation rate in New South Wales has been pretty amazing, right? So every day you hear from the Premier, 800, 800, 800. So everyone thinks, gee whiz, this thing's just stacking on top of each other. But the hospitalisation rate, again, touch wood, seems to have peaked and starts to fall down. Is that, again, the data that you're seeing on the inside of this thing? Is that, okay, yes, the Premier will stand up tomorrow and say X hundred cases, but there's not an exponential jump in the number of people going to hospital?
Oh, absolutely. And you can tie that to vaccinations, even a first dose vaccination. It helps prevent serious illness, hospitalisation or death. And we had Dr. Nguyen there yesterday, who heads up the NP and ICU unit and looks after the network of ICU, and clearly explained that to us. And the Premier herself and we all have been saying that we'll stop focusing on the headline figure of 700 or 800 cases. It's irrelevant. You're right. For the number of cases we've got, on par, when you look at about 100 in ICU, 500 to 600 in hospital, actually is a lower percentage than what we had on the outbreak last year. So, we're we are stretched in the health system, not because of the ICU or the hospitalisation. It's also the rollout of the vaccination and the testing that's occurring. But, the reality at 70% is we'll still have cases. I hope we don't start. We can almost forget reporting cases. We don't report how many people died from the flu or how many people are in hospital because of the flu each and every year. We're just going to move away from it. It'll be living with COVID. The Premier's been strong on this. We've been strong on it. We've copped a lot of ridicule from other states. But I'm glad to see at National Cabinet the conversation, the language from other premiers has changed significantly. And in one way, New South Wales has led the way. And, we've had a tough period. There's no question about it. But there is now light at the end of the tunnel. And when we later this week are able to announce the roadmap for September, October, November, what that looks like, I think everyone's going to see that light at the end of the tunnel. And it was good to see a lower number today. I mean, I can't believe we're still celebrating numbers in the 700s, but geez, on Saturday it was 880 plus. So, we may, fingers crossed, have peaked, and we may start seeing the benefits of vaccination.
Correct. And never forget, literally, Victoria, on one day, 81 people died, all right? 2021 is tough, it's hard, it sucks, but it ain't 2020. So I've got to ask the bugbear issue of mine, of course, which is schools and because of all of the obvious mental health reasons for lots of people watching us for their kids and grandkids, right? There was some reporting today that the suggestion that'll go before the meeting tomorrow is going to be that when the time is right, it'll be K1 and 2 plus year 11 and 12 that go back. And then would the expectation be that if, you're in kids in all those other years, that they come back sort of in a week after that, or is it a month after that? What's the expectation that, once that starts, how quickly we go back to a full school?
Paul, our priority is always been about getting kids back to school, and that's every age group, every cohort in the system. Now, we know that we don't currently vaccinate kids under the age of 15. We'd like to start as low as 12 years of age, but we'll have to wait for that advice. So in the meantime, we want to make sure teachers get vaccinated, and we can make sure we have a controlled environment. I mean, the school environment can be a controlled environment, one that we can put COVID-safe plans in. And, I'm confident that every kid will be back at school this year and be able to finish the year stronger all the way we started, and hopefully catch up. And for our Year 12 students, try and minimise that disruption that they've been through. So, look, it could be a staged approach. Education and health are working together. Again, the Premier has indicated that we'll have more to say later in the week, Thursday or Friday. I think, this is a time we can talk about all the roadmap in general, schools, businesses, individual rights, freedoms. And I tell you what, it's all attached to that 70% and the 80%. We've been saying it for a long time. The 6 million jabs, yes, it's still a low number, but we got there. We got there ahead of time, which shows you there is an appetite for vaccination. We haven't lost the community. And as I keep saying, just get vaccinated. Get the jab. Don't worry about the brand. They're all the same. You'll need a booster shot next year anyway, and there's more coming online. So just get vaccinated. Do it for the teachers. Do it for the health workers, for our nurses, our doctors. Do it for our kids. Do it for them. Don't do it for yourself. Don't even worry about it for yourself. Do it for yourself to protect yourself. But do it for your loved ones. Do it for everybody else. And the ultimate prize, freedom. I want to be able to watch the grand final of the NRL in Sydney in October. And that's driving me to make sure vaccination rates are up.
Well, I see your NRL grand final and I raise you Bathurst in November. I want to go there and I want you to be there. I want that to be a big issue for rural New South Wales to get crowds back at Bathurst for November, mate. All the best.
Absolutely, mate. Well, Bathurst definitely, I'm a rev head. It's sad. It was sad to find out that the Denny Youth Muster is actually cancelled for the second year. I've been there. It's tough. It's rough. I love it. But Bathurst is also a great place to be for just before Christmas.
Good stuff. Good man. Thank you very much. John Barilaro, the Deputy Premier in New